Welcome to class. Let's get started. Sedimentary rocks. How is a sedimentary rock formed? Remember our standard. Right now we're investigating the scientific view of how the Earth's surface was formed. That's the big picture. But the two elements that we're concentrating on is to be able to classify rocks by their process of formation and to be able to describe how rocks change, the processes that change rocks and the Earth's surface. Yesterday we did a flow chart. You had to read an article in order to complete the flow chart. I'm going to read the article aloud. Follow along with me and we'll discuss. If you put muddy water in a jar and let it set for a few days, what would you see? The water would become clear. There would be layers of dirt and stones at the bottom. This is called sediment. This is what sedimentary rocks are made from. The sediments are pieces of rock that have broken apart by weathering. Wind, water, and ice break down rocks and minerals into smaller particles. These pieces come together in different ways to form sedimentary rock. Running water, such as streams and rivers, move rocks to other places through erosion. This helps to form sedimentary rocks. The water carries the broken pieces of rock, then it drops them in layers wherever the current slows down. This is called deposition. After the layers are deposited, sedimentary rocks begin to form. This can happen in one of three ways. They can be formed by a process called compaction. Layers of sediment are squeezed together. The pressure of the rock on top causes this to happen. Sedimentary rocks can also be formed by cementation. This happens when water evaporates out of the layers of sediment. Minerals are left behind. They glue the pieces of rock together. Cementation is kind of like building a brick wall. The brick layer puts a mixture of sand and water between the bricks. This layer hardens as it dries, and the bricks stick together. Sedimentary rocks are formed almost the same way. The minerals between the rocks dry and stick the pieces together. The third way sedimentary rocks are formed is by recrystallization. Minerals that dissolve in the water fall out. New mineral grains are formed. They are bigger than the original grains. The crystals form together into a solid rock. There are three kinds of sedimentary rocks. Clastic rocks are made from pieces of other rocks. They are formed by compaction and cementation. Clastic rocks can range in size from tiny particles of soil to huge boulders. Shale and sandstone are two common clastic rocks. Non-clastic sedimentary rocks are formed when minerals separate from ocean water. The minerals mix with sediment on the floor. They recrystallize into solid rocks. Chalk is a common non-clastic rock. The third kind of sedimentary rock is called organic. These form from decayed plants and animals. They are usually formed in oceans or swamps. The decayed material is compacted into the rock. Two common organic rocks are limestone and coal. Sedimentary rocks gives us important resources. Most groundwater is found in sedimentary rock. Coal, oil, and natural gas are found in these rocks. These are important energy resources. Sedimentary rocks also gives us a building material. Iron is used for making steel. Limestone is made into cement. It is also cut into blocks for large buildings. Where would we be without sedimentary rocks? Weathering. Weathering is the process of breaking down rock into smaller pieces. Now, there are two types of weathering. There's physical or mechanical weathering that breaks rocks down into smaller pieces physically. And then there's chemical weathering, which also breaks rocks down, but by chemical reactions. It usually happens in places where there are a lot of water. So I'm going to demonstrate what weathering is like. Yesterday, you were given a bottle and a sugar cube. When you put the sugar cube into the bottle and add the top and shake. If you shake it long enough, what's going to happen is that sugar cube is going to break apart. Just like weathering, it breaks it down into smaller pieces. So these little pieces are my sediment. Erosion. Erosion is when something is transported or carried away. One of the things that the article said is it's usually by wind, water, or ice. So here's my example of wind. So water can also transport sediments as well as ice. And when we talk about ice transporting sediments, we're talking about glaciers, as you can see in the picture in the corner. Deposition. Depositions are when sediments are being added to drop down into a place. Remember, like I told you, the example I gave is when your parents go to the bank, they are adding money to their account. That's a deposit. The first 7 letters of deposition is deposit. It's when things are being collected or added into a place. Compaction. Compaction is when you have sediments that are being smashed together. So what happens is that when you keep adding layer on top of layer, eventually it gets heavy enough to where the pressure pushes it down and it starts to squeeze together. Cementation is when the sediments start to harden and they're kind of glued together. So what happens is that you have all of these pieces of sediment that ends up becoming glued together because of all of the pressure that they've endured in order to stick together. So let's watch a video